Hello and welcome to this evening's podcast, Heal with the Real. I do heal with the real because of my previous experience of past domestic abuse, and I wanted to raise awareness through the podcast on how we move through the trauma of domestic abuse. And all my guests that I invite on the podcast are survivors to thrivers of domestic abuse, and they're telling their story about how they move through the trauma and the tools that they use as well, more importantly, and how to spot the signs if you're in an unhealthy relationship. And my lovely, incredible guest tonight is Hannah Martin. And I'm just going to go over to introduce you to Hannah. So if you want to say a little bit, Hannah, about your, who you are and your backstory, that'd be amazing.
Of course. Sorry, my cat's decided to come in now. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm Hannah. And firstly, I am a mum of three. I'm also a survivor of domestic abuse. I try not to say victim because I don't like the word. I am a survivor. I try not to talk too much about the trauma that I've been through. So I started my abusive relationship in 2019. It went on for about 18-month period, not too long, but it was very intense and still very, very traumatic. But since that experience, it's allowed me to sort of look back over my life from a very early age and unpick what I've been through, and what experiences and traumas that I've had to allow me to become in a relationship that was so detrimental and was going to change my life forever.
When you're talking about your unpicking of your life, how far did you go back? Because I know for me, I went back as far as 7 years old, in my book that I write about, which was my memoir, Fix Your Future. It talks about all the various stages of my trauma. So going from 7, my mum saying that I was, I was a mistake as a child. I had a really good upbringing, and my parents were really, good parents. However, just the smallest things like that can then stay in your mind and cause trauma. So, that there was bullying at school, there was drug addiction during my teens, and there was all those things that kind of then escalate into that trauma of then you choose unhealthy relationships. So I don't know if that was a similar road for you.
Yeah, so again, I didn't come from a family where I was physically abused or anything like that. I had quite a good childhood, and we had everything that we needed. We had a nice house, really good schooling, but I personally don't feel I had the emotional stability and the emotional support that I needed during my childhood. And if I go back very much to my early years, I don't really have too many memories, because from the age of 15, everything's kind of been quite traumatic. I don't really have many memories of before that. But what I do remember, I do use now, and know that the way that I was treated and not emotionally supported has led me now to be involved in domestically abusive relationships, because I haven't been taught how to regulate my emotions or understand how to be treated by somebody else, or how to put up boundaries for myself to protect myself. I was never sort of taught those things. Going forward, I was in a relationship for a very long time. Again, I try not to talk too deeply about my traumas and what I've been through, because I like to try and keep that as private as possible in my life, because that belongs to me. I'm able to talk about how it's made me feel and how I've got to where I am now, but the lack of emotional support is something that needs to be talked about. Having an emotionally absent father is just as detrimental as not having a father at all. So I felt that, you know, getting in relationships where I wasn't treated fairly was completely normal. Now, it was only until I got to the last relationship that it was so bad. And I knew deep down that this wasn't okay. And I had an experience which was so awful and really on almost death's door, that I was like, Hannah, you need to wake up. Like, you need to do something now. Otherwise, you're either going to die or you're going to continue this cycle forever. So, and I think we've talked about this before as well, Amanda, about having these voices and these whispers in the universe, in the air, telling us like, you need to wake up, you need to start showing up for yourself instead of trying to make a life that isn't aligned to you. You need to sort of focus on yourself, and then the right people will come to you. So that's what I've been doing. That's what I've been doing now. And I can honestly say, now I've learned so much about my past and myself and my triggers and my traumas. I've never felt this feeling before. I feel so full. I feel so content. I'm doing all the things that I was meant to do throughout my 20s, but they're falling naturally into my lap. It's a very, very surreal and strange experience now. And also, I'm a very stubborn person, and I think when you're stubborn, you don't want to admit to the fact that we, as a person, we need to change. That's a really hard thing to do, to actually look in the mirror and think, actually, no, there are some faults in my behaviours as well, and I need to make the changes. And for me, that was really quite difficult. And now I've done that, and I've sort of let that vulnerability show a little bit. Again, that's allowed me to sort of progress on my healing journey.
How do we, one specific thing that you said is the education, educating others to prevent going into these unhealthy relationships. Definitely. Because they have so much detrimental effect that you do not realize until you've been in or had lived experience of domestic abuse. You do not realize the trauma that it embeds into your body unknowingly.
Yeah.
And that was something for me that I had to deal with and go away. And like you say, there was issues on my side as well that I had to go and fix. Lots of things. And some of those for me were, you know, no confidence, no self-worth, feeling that I wasn't good enough.
That's the thing.
What were the things that you had to go and fix? What were those?
So I always felt like I needed to seek validity from others all the time. It was never good enough in my own head. I always had to seek you know, I had to make sure that everybody else thought I was doing okay, but it's not about that. And it's also about body confidence. I've always been very insecure about my body. I've always been a curvier girl, and I've really struggled with it. But now I fully embrace it. And actually, since I've been embracing it, I've actually been losing weight because it's natural, it's happy. I'm not doing something that I'm being forced into because somebody's told me, oh, you're a bit overweight, Hannah. I'm doing it because it's for me, and it is so empowering. Another thing that I say that I would struggle with the most was also, I had a really bad relationship with drugs and alcohol. I thought it was a way to heal my feelings, to block out those feelings. But now I've seen the light, and I've discovered that actually we need to grieve. We need to go through those feelings. We can't block them out. I was never a crier, you know. I would get very angry, or I'd hit a bottle of wine, or I'd go out with my mates. Now, if I'm having a bad day, do you know what I do? I shut the door, I turn my phone off, I get into my bed, and I just meditate, and I sit with my own thoughts, and I sit with myself. And if I need to cry for the whole day, I'll bloody cry for the whole day, because that's perfectly normal. You need to get those feelings out instead of hitting the bottle or doing something reckless, or, you know exactly what I mean.
Yeah. And what other things? Because I have a really daily routine. My morning routine has to, you know, go da 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 and do whatever I need to do on a morning before I then come to work as a, you know, sit at my desk. I know I'm at home, but I work.
Yeah, same.
But doing those things on a morning then sets me up for the day, you know. So are there something that you regularly do every day, or what would you suggest to other people that might be going through trauma and may need some tips, or, you know,
Yeah,
what is it?
definitely. I would say that you need to plan, as you said. I think it's very important to sort of have tasks ahead for the day. We know what we're going to do. I think I say about sitting in my room and meditating, but I'm at a stage now where I can do that. And I think sometimes that if we don't have those things to look forward to, we can get ourselves into a rut. So I do get up and I have my same routine. I have to have my cup of tea in the morning, and I have to sit with my phone for 20 minutes or do something for myself, you know, just for that 20 minutes in the morning, just so I set myself up. So I've got that initial, that zen feeling. You're not getting up all rushed. I would also say not to overplan too much. You know, don't busy your schedule. Make that time for yourself. I know it's not always easy for people to delegate time for yourselves, especially if you're working full time in a job. I know I'm quite fortunate that I'm able to work from home. So I can go and grab a cup of tea whenever I want to, you know. You need to really dedicate time for yourself, because we've talked about this as well, Amanda, about having our cups half empty or half full, and we are not going to be able to progress and give people the love that they deserve and the love that we deserve if we're running on empty. It just doesn't work.
No, you can't. You absolutely can't pour from an empty cup. You know, there's so many things like the meditation. I do exactly the same as you, because I feel like a lot of the time my mind is so busy with what's the next thing, and rushing. What's the next thing that I need to be doing?
Yeah.
It's just sitting and thinking with my thoughts, and just having nothing, you know, and maybe I have 15 minutes every morning meditation where I think of my goals for the day and what my goals are going to be. And that kind of sets me up for the day. But I also do my exercise as well, because I get my rave music. I was an old raver in my day.
Oh, were you? Oh, brilliant.
And so I just get my old rave tunes on, and I dance and do some low impact workout for half an hour. And I love that. That just kind of gets me going for the day. And I do gratitude journaling sometimes. I must say I'm not great at doing it. I have got my own gratitude journal that I've got on Amazon, but do you know what? I haven't used it. I need to get back to using it. Sometimes I fall off, but
yeah, we all do. And that's the thing. We can't put too much pressure on yourself as well, because otherwise you just go bang. You have to find the right balance, don't you, of self-care and, you know, doing your day-to-day jobs. Oh, hello.
Oh, that's it.
Oh, hello.
You're back again. Yeah, you just froze for a little bit. Yeah, so getting out in nature is another one for me. If I'm feeling stuck on anything, I'll just take myself 10 minutes outside with my dog for a quick walk and come back and feel refreshed. That's another good one that I always do. You know, I love being out in nature anyway, as a rule.
Yeah, I agree. You can't beat it. And I've only just discovered this, that actually being outside, being a bit of a hippie, I've turned into a bit of a hippie since my ordeal. So it's a shame you live so far away. We could go and do some hiking together.
Oh, that would be amazing, because I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Okay, so would you say, where are you now? Because you've mentioned that you want to support others. So how do you see that happening? What do you see?
So yeah, I'm in the process of setting up some workshops that will hopefully provide emotional and holistic therapy and support for women in my local area. I speak to a lot of women in my town, who have reached out to me asking for advice, just someone to chat to. So I've set up an online community now, which we often talk regularly. We can post anonymously on there. So we have women asking for advice that may not want to come forward, which is absolutely fantastic, because I think going to speak to a professional is bloody scary. I know I didn't want to. I wanted to find somebody like me just to speak to, just to get real advice. And that's what I want to provide. And I think the more of us that come together and are in a room sort of vibing and bouncing off each other, like that vibe is electric. I go to a lot of women's sort of empowerment days and sessions. And what I'm learning during these sessions, I'm actually bringing back to my community. I'm a mum, as you know, so I'm really, really busy. My little boy has extra needs. So at the moment, obviously my priority is getting him settled in school. I also need funding for these workshops. So I've actually got a meeting with my local council next week, and I'm going to be part of a steering group for them, and we're going to try and come up with some ideas, hopefully. I am in the process of getting some funding to set up these workshops, and I'm also got my online presence as well, doing my day in the life videos and speaking to people who reach out to me, doing podcasts with lovely ladies like you. And yeah, I've got loads of exciting things coming up in the future. So yeah, really pleased.
And I didn't realize until just recently, till Matt does the Superhero Finder podcast, and you were a guest on his podcast, and Matt introduced me to you. And an amazing connection, and I'm really grateful for that. But what we didn't know is we were following each other on.
We were. I know. And crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, and you know, the journey that you talk about, you just do a daily chat about a day in the life of a survivor, a domestic abuse survivor, and it's great because it's just a very open and honest kind of memoir of your day, really.
Yeah, exactly. And it just brings people comfort, doesn't it, just to watch somebody else do the things that they're doing, knowing that there's somebody out there who's struggling too. It just gives people comfort, and it also brings me comfort as well, because I've built my community and my new friends where, you know, if I ever want to reach out to them, I perfectly can. I'm very open about my thoughts and my feelings. If I'm having a bad day, I'm having a bad day, and I'm not afraid to show that either, because I am human. I may look all happy and, you know, doing these podcasts, this, that, and the other, but, you know, 2 days out of the week, there's days where I don't even want to turn my phone on and I feel really emotional. But I recognize that and I don't fight it. I use that time to build myself back up again and get back to where I was, because I know it's possible.
Yeah. Have you got any, can you tell the audience how to spot signs of unhealthy relationships? What are the red flags for the audience members?
So initially, I would say somebody being overly interested in you. I think so. I'm going by my experience. So I felt like I was sized up as prey. When I met my abuser, he was so interested in me and so complimentary and really noticed things about me. And of course I lapped it up. Why wouldn't you? You know, if someone is telling you all these lovely things, why wouldn't you? So I would definitely say that we call it love bombing, don't we? Is a huge thing. And also them escalating things quite quickly, telling you that they love you very quickly, wanting to move in with you. We've got the obvious ones, not liking what you're wearing, checking your phone, asking a lot of questions. I would also say it's difficult. Look at past relationships if you can find out anything about past relationships as well. Just have your wits about you, you know. And I don't want to say that all men are bad, and this is really difficult because we don't want to be constantly on edge thinking, oh, we've got to recognize these red flags because they might be a bad person. Yes, they might, but there is also a lot of good men out there. And we often find that when we have been through domestically abusive relationships, we follow that pattern, and to recognize these signs is really fantastic. And I think there needs to be more done about it in schools. I think children need to be learning about the red flags in relationships. I think boys need to be taught what's right and what's wrong in relationships. Another red flag for me would be not having a job, not being financially stable, because they're probably most likely to drain you of all your finances. I would also say another red flag would be sort of drugs and alcohol. Unhealthy relationships with drugs and alcohol is another red flag, because I often find that when my perpetrator was under the influence, the abuse would be 10 times worse. And yeah, off the top of my head right now, there's plenty. I could write a book about how many red flags there are, but again, there are a lot of green flags as well. So I think it's important that we recognize that not all men are bad.
So what would you say some green flags? Let's talk about green flags in relationships, because like you say, there are so many lovely men out there.
There are.
Thankfully, you know, that do outweigh the abuse of people. So what are the green flags, signs of green flags?
So green flags, I would always say a really good relationship with their mum. A really good relationship with their mum, because if they respect their mum, then they're going to respect you, plain and simple. I would also say that they need to be financially stable. They need to be either living alone or living in a shared house, so they know how to take care of themselves, because a lot of men, unfortunately, they don't. And you know, as women, we do like to look after our men, and they do like to be looked after, but I think it's really important for them to stand on their own 2 feet and be completely independent. I would also say, obviously, for them not to be drinking all the time, and to have their shit together, really. Sorry, am I allowed to swear? Sorry.
No, shit's fine.
Oh, that's good. So yeah, those are definitely green flags. And one of the biggest green flags for me is communication. My partner and me, we talk about everything. It's more so him. He really encourages me to speak about things, because from my past experiences, I'm still a bottler because I'm scared of the consequences of expressing my feelings. So it's really important to express your feelings on a healthy level, and to talk about things if you've got problems, because if you let those things bottle up and fester, that's when it goes bang, and it's not going to end well. So communication is key. When I met Dan, he was so warm and kind, but yet he wasn't intense. You know, he was very mindful of all my surroundings and myself, and also respecting his own boundaries as well. He was very respectful of his boundaries, and I really liked that about him. So yeah, huge green flag that is.
I love that as well, because then that enables you to slowly open up your heart again, because
Definitely.
After domestic abuse, as you know, your heart's very much closed. Very much on your masculine side.
Yeah.
And it takes a long time for you to then go back to the feminine side of yourself.
Definitely.
And I love the fact that, you know, you found a partner that is like that and does understand and is open, because it's really hard for men to have that communication side. I think, you know, even if it's a problem with some men, they won't discuss it, will they? With people, unlike women, we talk about everything together. So it's so beautiful that you found a man that can communicate really well, because I think that is so important. Communication, I would say, is my number one priority of a green flag. If that person can openly communicate with you, I just believe that you've got a keeper.
Same. I completely agree with you. Yeah, I lived most of my life going back to my early years of not talking about things. I come from a family where nobody talks about things. It's like, well, okay, well, that's happened now. Let's just deal with that, or let's just brush that under the carpet. And some people can just carry on with life like that. I can't. I'm a very emotional person, and I didn't realize how much I needed to talk about things until now. And now a can of worms been opened, and you can't bloody shut me up.
That's good. That is great though, isn't it? And I'm
Yeah.
like you know, I'm holding that heart and I'm not completely open until I know I'm safe and secure with that
Yeah.
person. And then
Yeah.
it
It's
will
hard, isn't it?
start to open again. But it's really hard navigating life in any way.
It is.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the Facebook group. What's the name of your group? Can people join, or is
Yeah.
it a closed group?
It is a closed group, yeah, because obviously we have to keep everybody safe and it's very confidential. So if anybody does want to be a part of the group, they can either email me, or they can find me on Facebook. So my name is Hannah Martin on Facebook. If you add me as a friend, I can send you an invitation into the group, or you can request to join. So it's called the Women's Empowerment Group. If you have a look on my TikTok, I will post the what do you call it? The logo. So I think I can post the link as well on TikTok. Again, I think I've said this before, I'm really rubbish with social media. I'm trying to get my grips about it. But yeah, I can post the link on TikTok. I can post the logo as well, so you know what you're looking for. I think my profile picture is the same as my TikTok, so you'll be able to find me pretty easily. So yeah, you can add yourself onto that, and then in the near future, as soon as I've got enough time to organise everything, I'm going to get these workshops off the ground, and they will be Northampton based. I'm hoping that in the future they will be spread out, but you never know what's around the corner. So I just need to keep working hard and see what happens.
Amazing. Can you just talk me through a little bit? Because I know last night we did a TikTok live together, just to talk about the podcast. And we talked about, well, I mentioned some priorities that I put in my life. Some of them were boundaries.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit around boundaries and boundary setting and how important it is?
Of course. I didn't even know what boundaries were until recently. So that just says a lot, really, doesn't it? So saying no, I think we talked about this last night, didn't we? Yeah. Saying no and not having that guilt, which is something that I'm still trying to come to terms with. Every day I'm getting better. It's like you want to wave a little flag of celebration. Oh my God, I just said no to somebody. What?
Yeah.
And having those boundaries and being respectful to yourself is so important. Like, you want to treat yourself how you would treat your friend. Like, I know that I treat everyone around me with such kindness, but I don't give myself that. Like, what's that all about? And as soon as you have that boundary in place by saying no and only doing what feels comfortable and what aligns with you, your life will change. As you know, it is so true, isn't it?
Yeah. And I used to think, oh, it's Friday, great, it's the weekend,
yeah,
drink, and we celebrate on a Friday, and it's like, no, every day is a celebration, actually.
Of course it is. Yeah,
we're alive, tomorrow's never promised. And I think every day should be a celebration, but it's true about the boundaries, setting those boundaries. Or for me, it's just about saying, if somebody's asking me to do something or go somewhere, just let me get back to you in a day or so, or an hour or so. Let me just have a think about it. And it's just having that moment to think, well, is it aligned with my where I want to go, or what I want to do? Is it aligned with me? And then going back to that person or whoever, to say, actually, no, I don't want to do this. It's not aligning.
And if they kick up a fuss about it, then they're not the right person for you. Unfortunately, that is just the way it is, and it can be hard to let those people go if they don't, abide by our boundaries. But we have to remember that it's not us. We have to keep putting up these boundaries to protect ourselves from the bad in the world.
Yeah. And I think also, once you start aligning with where you want to be, those people in your life naturally fall away anyway.
Yeah, they certainly do.
Which is really nice. Not nice that they fall away, but nice that it just they go away.
Yeah.
Not even with you saying go away. It's just
completely agree.
Disappear, and it's nice. Yeah, it's been lovely speaking to you, Hannah.
Oh, no, it's been
So
lovely
nice.
speaking to you.
And I can't wait to see how your journey
Bless you.
I'm sure you'll do massive things.
Oh, thank you, darling. That means a
You
lot.
know,
I hope to.
I believe in you, and
Thank you, darling.
you know, that even if we help, like you say, just one person along the
Well, this
way,
is it.
doesn't matter, does it? You know,
No.
as long as we're helping that one person, that's one more that
Exactly.
we've helped.
Exactly. Exactly.
Thank you so much for coming on here with the Real.
Thank you for having me.
You've been an amazing guest. Do you want to any final thoughts or?
I don't think I have. No. I will post. I mean, would you be able to post my socials for me? Or I don't know if we'll be able to do something like that. But other than that, I think no, I don't think I've got anything more to add other than thank you so much for inviting me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
I know it's been great to have you on as a guest. And if anybody's watching out there, know that there is life after domestic abuse. We can heal ourselves, and we
sure
can have amazing lives.
Yeah.
And be happy again. You know, it's just that time, and just keep putting one foot in front of the other every day, even if it's just one little bit, if just one little thing that you do every day is a step forward. So yeah, thank you so much, Hannah, and thank you for everybody who may have watched. Thank you.
See you later.
Take care. Bye.